So I'm starting my first sketch/drawing of my new sketchbook, and my idea for this piece was to do some fan art of the Mario characters, starting with Princess Peach. I also got some new art supplies, so I'm going to be trying them out in an art piece for the first time here. So here's just a chill video of my entire process from blank page to finished piece. I generally don't film my drawing process, mainly because it's a hassle, but like as you'll watch when I'm drawing, I'm constantly erasing and redrawing and readjusting things until they come out the way I want. The drawing process for me is the longest part. Generally coloring for me doesn't take that long. I'm more decisive in my creative choices by then though, so it ends up not taking as long. Whereas like when I'm drawing, I tend to be a bit indecisive about how I want things to look, so it takes me a hot minute to figure out how I want to draw things and to be satisfied with how it looks. I don't know, sometimes I feel like I just have to get my sketch like just right, because like once I start putting down paint or markers, I can't really go back and change the sketch, so I guess that's part of the pressure. But anywho, since I rarely show my drawing process, I figured I should do that for a video, and usually my process is botched up, like for lack of a better word, so I thought it would be nice for people to see like the whole thing all together in one video. The way I go about my art process usually is like I'll do like a ton of sketches, and when I feel like it, I'll just color them all at once. And so generally there's like this huge space in between when I start a sketch and when I finish coloring it, because I'm doing other sketches and other stuff in between that time period. But like nobody asks about all that, and here I am rambling on about it. But anywho, let me talk more about this piece specifically. I guess first is how I got the idea to draw this. Well, I don't know what moment I thought it would be a fun idea to draw the Mario characters, but what I like to do is like I'll keep a note on my phone with a list of things I want to draw, and as I go about my day and everyday life, sometimes things will just pop up and I'll write it on my phone. So when I need to draw something, I'll just go back to that notes list and pick something. So if you're struggling with being inspired or finding things to draw, which is a place I've been in before, like there were times where like months on end my mind is like so blank and I can't think of anything, and just so like this tip really helped make that better, if that makes sense. So here's what I suggest. You know, keep with you a mini notebook or just a memo on your phone, whatever method you prefer, and wherever you go, whatever it is, while you're walking down the street or something, and something pops up in your head, just write it in there. Even if it feels like the dumbest, most randomest thing ever, just write it. Like I'll be driving and looking at scenery and the sun, and it'll look so bright and beautiful in the sky, and I'll be like mesmerized by the rays, and I'll be like, ooh, that is so pretty, I want to draw that. And I'll put in my notes to draw the sun. And I generally don't even draw landscapes, and I wouldn't even know like the first thing about drawing the sun, but I put the idea down, and then I'll think over time like, ooh, it'll be cool to translate like a landscape into a character. And that's how my solar system series came about. Like I just thought about the planets and I was like, ooh, that'd be cool to draw. And then I was like, nah, that's a dumb idea. But then I ended up drawing it, and it turned out to be one of my favorite series that I ever did. And I was like, wow. So like even if you have like a random thought and it feels like a bad idea to draw, it doesn't feel like a good idea, just throw it onto that notes list, because that random thought can evolve into something more refined later down the line, and it could come out fabulous. Anywho, I drew a whole series based on the solar system, and I painted them with watercolors and all that. So after finishing that, I wanted to do something more chill, something with less pressure to like get it fabulous. So I was like, you know what, let me do some fan art, let me have some fun in my sketchbook. So I chose to do fan art of the Mario characters. And as I said, this one is of Princess Peach, next is Daisy, and yes, I'll be drawing Mario and Luigi. I've also got Wario and Waluigi, and perhaps Rosalina and Luma. I'm still thinking about if I'm going to draw her. But yeah, speaking of which though, I rarely draw guys. And since I had like decided that I was just going to have fun in my sketchbook, I was like, you know what? It'll be good practice and experience to draw some guys. So that's upcoming in this mini fan art series. But yeah, continuing on, I talked about the process of getting ideas for a sketch, a bit about the drawing process, and well, as you could have seen, I start off with mapping out the face shape, then I'll place the lips. And I do it like that just so I can keep control of the spacing between the lips and the chin. And then I'll make my way up, drawing the nose and the eyebrows and the eyes, and I'll move on to placing the ears, and lastly the hair, the shoulders, the outfit. That's the order that I generally go by, because I feel like when I do it this way, I can map out the correct spacing better. What I used to do was I would start off with the nose, and I'll just like place it randomly in the center of the face shape, and then I'll draw the lips. And when I did it like that, sometimes the character ends up having no chin or too much chin, and I was like, that's weird. So then I switched it up, and now I draw the lips first so I could control that spacing of the chin, and then I'll go up, and it just works out for me that way. You can try whatever order works for you. If you try one way and you're like, that doesn't look right, then you could try another way, and if it works out, then that's nice. Yeah. Anywho, side note, I draw in this Carmine red pencil because I feel like graphite smudges and it gets the colors a bit gray and muddy, like when you use watercolors or markers, which I don't really like. So I started sketching with the red pencil, and I've been addicted to using red pencil since then. I just like having the red sketch underneath better than the gray. Anyway, I colored in my sketch with my alcohol-based markers, and I tried blending a bit. My main medium is watercolor, so I'm trying to experiment and learn how to use other mediums like markers. So I was just praying that I was blending them right, and it actually worked out pretty well. My technique was to have both markers uncapped. I started with the base color, then added the color I wanted to blend in, and on top I'd go in again with the base color, especially around the edges around the color that I wanted to blend in, and get the paper all wet so that the colors can mingle and mix together well and blend. I don't know if that explanation makes sense, but that's the technique I use, and it worked out pretty well in my opinion. As I experiment more with markers, I'll probably have more knowledge and experience to better explain the blending markers techniques. But anywho, usually I wouldn't have markers and watercolors on in one piece, but like I tried it once before, and surprisingly the paper didn't deteriorate and explode. So I'm trying it again in this piece. We're kind of like a little behind, I guess. What you're watching right now is a little behind, but near now. You'll see me take out my watercolors. So I got these like new Kuretake gold watercolors, and I use it to color in the crown, and I've got the sparkly gem and pearl colors as well, and I use them to add some sparkle to the hair and different places here and there, and it turned out pretty nice. Though I was like pretty shy with the usage of the sparkly colors, but it was my first time doing it like this, like officially, I guess. So next time I want to push it a bit more and to be more intentional with my strokes. And then after doing the watercolor detailing and all that kind of jazz, I will move on to the last step, which is adding in the line art. I prefer using colored pencils for this step. I feel like colored pencils give a more softer look and then the stark contrast of a pen. And also I feel like I have better control with a colored pencil than with a pen. So when I do start doing the line art, I use this like near black color pencil. It's like a super dark gray actually, but it looks black, and if I didn't tell anyone, I doubt anybody would notice the slight difference. I feel like doing the line art really brings the piece together. When you see how she looks once the line art is done, you will understand what I'm talking about, because honestly, after coloring her, I wasn't sure if I was feeling this piece. I really wasn't, but I kept going, trust the process, and once I added the line art, it just finally felt right. It finally felt like it came together. And speaking of trust the process, my suggestion is to stick it out to the end. Sometimes our art goes through this like ugly phase where it just doesn't look right and it looks like a mess and you just want to give up, but trust me, don't stop there. A lot of times after that ugly phase, the piece looks just fine. It looks beautiful, and sometimes it could be even one of your best pieces. So as much as you can, stick it out till the end. Even if you stick it out till the end and it still looks ugly, at least you've gained experience on how to completely finish a piece. Like, how would I know how to blend markers if I gave up on the sketch halfway through? You know, how would I know how to do line art if I gave up on my painting midway through the painting process? How would I know my ink bleeds into my gold watercolors if I don't get there? Like, because I thought my piece was ugly and I tossed it aside. Like, if I stopped midway through the process, how would I know what the end of the process would look like? You know, and this is like something that I actually experienced. Like, I got these inks and they worked fine when I was using them to line art watercolors. But then like the watercolor part of my watercolor painting, the regular part of my anyway, whatever, you get what I'm trying to say. But then if I use that ink to go over the gold watercolors, the line will get frayed or like blend into the gold, and I was like, goodness gracious, how, what? Anywho, so now I know, like, if I want a soft line of my gold watercolors, I can use those inks, but if I want like a stark line, then not to. But the point here is that like they're just things that you learn from completing the art process. So whether or not your ugly phase is just a phase, or you actually feel like it legit is ugly, but it's worth to keep drawing and make it to the end and not give up on it. Anywho, that's my pep talk. If you got any questions on the process, etc., write it down in the comments and I'll do my best to answer. I hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time.